Over the coming days, our new Lincoln Square podcast, On the Ground, is launching, and today you're part of it. On the Ground will be a podcast where we talk to candidates and people on the ground in the key battlegrounds who know what's actually happening on the ground. And we're starting with a special look at key races in the state of Iowa that are key to the change wave that is coming in November. So welcome to On the Ground in Iowa with Joe Trippi. I'm your host, Joe Trippi. No one knows Iowa like Iowans, but in the 46 years that I've been making the pilgrimage as a Democratic strategist to this state, I've learned a thing or two about what it takes to campaign in the Hawkeye State. Today, I'm coming at you from the Hotel Fort Des Moines, scene of many historic election nights. I've spent way too much time in this place. In fact, the Hyundai ad that actually arguably won the state for Dick Gephardt in 1988, I wrote it on a napkin in my room in this very hotel room. So I'm excited to be back and to be talking with our special guest, U.S. Senate candidate Josh Turek. Josh was elected to the House of Representatives in 2022 by just 6 votes, proving that every vote really does count. He's also a 2-time gold medalist Paralympian who played for the U.S. national wheelchair basketball team. So Josh, thanks for being with us and giving our audience your take on your race and what's actually happening on the ground in Iowa. And we are going to play your bio ad at the end of this once we're done with the interview. But Josh, thanks for being with us.
Absolutely, Joe. Thanks for having me.
So Josh, give us your take on where the race is right now. I think a lot of people are a little bit worried about the tone, and just wanted to get your take on where you see things are.
Yeah, at least in terms of Iowa as a whole, I really believe that this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity that we've got to be able to win Senator Harkin's seat back. I think that for 3 distinct reasons, this U.S. Senate seat is very seriously in play. I guess 4. Yeah. The very first, I think, is the independent poll that we just had come out that shows myself and Ashley Hinson tied. But beyond that, this is a state that has bottomed out. I mean, we are dead last for economic growth, 48th for personal income growth, basically dead last for every healthcare metric. Only state with a growing cancer rate. And now we lead the nation in farm foreclosures because of the tariffs. And I think sometimes, like what you saw with a state like Kansas, you have to bottom out sometimes before people are willing to go a different direction. The second reason why the state's really in play is because this is the first time since 1968 we have an open Senate race along with an open governor's race and 2 open congressional races. So there's no power of incumbency. And what I've been saying over and over and over is that we are not a red state. We are a common sense state that has masqueraded more red than what we are. We're a state that in Trump's first midterm, we were able to win 3 out of the 4 congressional races, almost won all 4, 3 points away from winning all 4. And in traveling the state for the last 6 months, I really believe that there is significantly more energy and desire for change now than even in Trump's first midterm. We're a state that, for example, in the last midterm, 2022, we were 1.5% away from having 3 of our 6 statewide officials being Democrats. That means your average Iowa voter went to the polls and voted for 3 Dems and 3 Rs. So the fact that we have bottomed out, the fact of no power of incumbency, the fact that we are really a common sense state that has masqueraded much more red than what we are. And then I think that the final portion, which I think is arguably the most important, which is I am a candidate that has proven results of being able to win in very, very red conditions. I represent the reddest district in the Iowa legislature. So the 2 communities that I represent, Carter Lake, Trump won by 18 points, and Council Bluffs, my hometown, Trump won by 10 points. And I was able to win my district by nearly 6 points, about 50% more overperformance than any other Democrat in the state. And that has really taught me right candidate, right message, right work ethic, you can win. And I believe that the stars have all perfectly aligned here for us to see this generational shift here in Iowa. And I think we're going to be the center of the political universe, not only for this Senate race, but a governor's race and for being able to compete in 3 of the 4 congressional races.
Yeah, it's all connected. If you can get, if you, I agree with what you're saying in terms of all that coming into play actually helps all of it. Helps the governor's race, helps the Senate race, helps the House races. The one thing, a lot of people are out there worried about primaries, and I'm not one of them. I've always believed, I think that's what actually built up Iowa back in the day was those hard-fought presidential caucus fights where everybody was out there organizing and fighting. We all came together for the nominee, but it actually builds a stronger party, and that debate is energizing. You look at what happened in Texas last week, a massive turnout, higher turnout, Democrats turning out higher in that primary than Republicans for the first time, I think, since 2000 or something like that. So that energizing, the energy of a primary, I think, far exceeds any of the downsides. But how do you differentiate? How do you see the primary playing out? What's the real contrast between you and Zach Walz, given that you've got Ro Khanna's endorsement. I was Ro Khanna's chief strategist and media consultant when he won the House against a Democratic incumbent back, a few years back. But that's not some, that's pretty hardy progressive endorsement. So I'm just trying to get a sense of where on the policy or what's how do you contrast yourself in this primary?
Yeah. I 100% agree with you. I actually think that the primary process can be really, really valuable. I can tell you this, I'm grateful that I'm going through this primary process. It has made me a far superior candidate. I've really come to the conclusion now that the process of running for the United States Senate is actually what prepares you to be a great United States Senator. So I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed getting all over the state and talking with folks. The distinction, I don't say anything disparaging about Zach Walz. I think he's a smart, articulate guy. The major difference is I think this is about electability. I mean, this really is a once in a generation opportunity to be able to win this U.S. Senate race and win Senator Harkin's seat back and make, generational level change in the state of Iowa and in the country. And as I had said to you, I am a Democrat that represents the reddest district in the Iowa legislature. I won a district that Trump won, the 2 communities, Trump won by 18 points, and by 10 points, I was able to win by nearly 6 points. That's 50% more overperformance than any other Democrat in the state. And that was not with the Republicans not trying. The Republicans spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on negative television ads. Americans for Prosperity spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on paid canvassers and negative mailers, and I still outperform them by 50% more than any other Democrat. And Zach comes from a Harris plus 37 district and has never even run against a Republican ever. And I think that is a real distinction, is that I'm battle tested. I also think a difference is, I think we need more people in the U.S. Senate from places like Council Bluffs, Iowa. I have a real unique story, background, resume in politics, I think that really resonate with independents and moderate Republicans. And certainly you're going to need that to be able to win. But, I come from a lot of economic adversity. I'm someone that went to the Goodwill for my clothes. We shared clothes. We went to the free summer lunch programs. We had the wrong color lunch tickets. I think that resonates with people. I think the same I was born with my disability. I wasn't born into privilege. I wasn't born as a blue blood. I'm someone that had my first surgery at 1 day old. I had 21 surgeries before I was even 12 years old. And I'm someone that in a deeply personal way, I understand what so many people are going through, both on the economic side and on the healthcare side. And I think when you've gone through that personally, there's a different level of fight and there's a different level of empathy. And I think we've got a lot of people up in DC, particularly in the U.S. Senate, that come from privilege, that come from wealth, And I think we need more individuals in the United States Senate that come from the working class, that come from adversity, because when you've experienced it firsthand, I think there'll be a different level of fight.
And how do you take that? How do you see that fight with Hinson? I mean, again, the polls show that it's basically a dead heat in a general election. Look, the other thing I noticed, I don't know if you saw it yet, but the economist YouGov came out on March 8th with a new series of favorable ratings in all 50 states. Trump is now at a -12 approval in Iowa, which just shows how upside down things have gotten. That's since the February one, it's dropped even further. So obviously, I think Iran and gas prices are starting to already have an impact. But how do you see this impacting farmers? The economy and the fight again in that general election? Is it affordability? What's your path?
Yeah, I call myself a common sense prairie populist, like Senator Harkin would call himself. I really believe that this upcoming election is about affordability. It's about the kitchen table issues. And that's what I've been out there talking about: the need for a livable wage, affordable housing, affordable healthcare, pharmaceuticals, addressing our water quality crisis in Iowa, our cancer crisis in Iowa, supporting our public schools, because that was really a point of personal pride for all Iowans to be the very, very best. And now we've precipitously dropped. The thing that we hear the most consistently out on the trail, it doesn't matter if we're in urban areas or rural areas, is people are struggling. And that people are struggling just to keep food on the table, just to pay their electric bill, just to keep a roof above their head. And, Ashley Hinson has a lot to answer for. And she comes out and she makes an announcement video and she says, I want to be Donald Trump's best ally in Iowa. Well, I come out and I say, I want to represent Iowa and Iowans, and I want to represent the middle class and our workers and our small businesses and our rural communities. That's what I want to be fighting for. And I understand why Hinson does that. She looks at a state that Trump carries by 12 points and says, if I get every Trump voter out, I waltz into the U.S. Senate. But this is a very, very different game. And I can tell you this, the Trump signs, the Trump flags have come down all over. You go into these rural communities that have been absolutely decimated by the tariffs and, commodities prices being upside down, and they feel rightfully betrayed. We now lead the nation in farm foreclosures here in Iowa. And you go into these rural communities, there's no longer any, their pharmacy is gone. And their healthcare clinic has closed because of cuts at the state level and at the federal level, cuts to Medicaid, cuts to ACA subsidies. Their schools have closed and consolidated. And these are the real pillars of these communities. You go in these rural communities, they don't even have grocery stores anymore. And they're recognized that the state and the country needs a new direction. It does not matter where we go. We hear about affordability. And we also will hear from people every single event that we do. We get independents and we get Republicans showing up, card-carrying Republicans, and they will say, Josh, I proudly voted for Trump, but I'm not for this level of naked corruption. I still believe in democracy. I don't like what I'm seeing, and I'm going to vote blue this go round. And it really is an opportunity. Ashley Hinson has a lot to answer for. She is someone that supported the big, beautiful bill. That's 110,000 Iowans that are going to outright lose their health care benefits. Thousands more lose their food benefits just to give tax breaks to billionaires. This is in a state where we've already closed over 40 skilled nursing facilities, nursing homes, and rural hospitals over the last 5 years due to lack of reimbursement. 2 in 5 Iowans are on Medicaid. I mean, it is literally the lifeblood for these rural healthcare clinics. I mean, we are basically dead last for nearly every single health metric. Dead last nearly for OBGYNs, PMIC beds, mental health providers, mental health supports. You could go on. And then she's someone that voted against the ACA subsidies continues. That's 137,000 Iowans that are going to see their healthcare premiums double or triple. And I can tell you this, I've already been out there and in these rural communities, I've already heard directly from individuals that have said, my premiums didn't just double or triple. They've gone up 5 or 6 times. I was talking to a young guy out in Ottumwa, And he was saying that he had gone from $100 to something like $850. I mean, it's, you're just going to see more and more individuals that are going to be uninsured and put more and more burden on our emergency rooms. And, she's somebody that has voted 4 times to support the tariffs that have decimated our rural communities. And, you're looking at these farmers where they, by and large, went out and voted for Trump. And I understand why they did that. Trump, the one thing I give him credit for is that he accurately assessed that the status quo was not working for the average American or for the middle class. And so they said, we need to address this. But all of his policies have been faux populism. And, from the tax cuts, 85% going to the 1%. Yeah. Big Beautiful Bill, I think, is the most egregious example, where you're cutting healthcare and food assistance just to give tax breaks to billionaires. And then in Iowa in particular, you look at a situation where we bail out Argentina to the tune of $20 billion so the Chinese can buy their soybeans. Meanwhile, our Iowa farmers are completely upside down. And every single rural community we go to, we keep hearing from farmers, I don't know if we're going to be able to make it. And I think we're headed towards another farm crisis that we saw in the 1980s.
No,
Ashley Hinson's going to have to answer for all of that.
No, I'm seeing it everywhere in terms of, but the biggest thing is the way independents have moved away from Trump and MAGA, and then you have some soft Republicans, but the move among independents is just amazing. How they're almost in Texas and other places. They're actually so far have been voting to change. I mean, as the people talk about blue wave, I think it's more a wave of change. It's Democrats, Republicans, and independents saying we've got to change all this. So how do you spend your days on the campaign? What are you doing? I mean, how much of this is TV versus just the usual Iowa campaign at the doors and have a strong field organization? Is that where's this campaign going from your point of view?
Yeah, great question. First, I want to say that I 100% agree with you on the independent shift. These are going to be the kingmakers in Iowa, especially when you're looking at a voting block. Maybe as much as 35% of the voters in this upcoming midterm are going to be independents. Again, this is why I really believe that electability is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in this. I know I have a unique ability. There's something unique about my story, my background, my resume, but even my politics, focusing on the kitchen table issues, about genuine populism that really resonates with independents and moderate Republicans. In my race, I actually had more raw votes, even though I was so far down ballot, than Kamala Harris did in my race, which is very, very rare for sure. a state candidate. In terms of where we're allocating our time, certainly we got to get up on TV, especially if you're looking in Iowa. Average age of a primary voter is going to be 61, but we're getting out there every single day and speaking in front of as many people as we possibly can. And what it excites me is when people sit there and hear from me directly, we're winning rooms. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we ran out of yard signs because we're winning rooms. And it's not just Democrats that are showing up. It's lots of independents and lots of card-carrying Republicans that are showing up. And I think one of the difference in calculus that we have versus I think what a lot of Democrats have had over the last 10 years in this state is I think that there's been a miscalculation of, well, we just need to maximize turnout in Polk and Johnson County and Scott County, these urban areas, and that's going to be enough to get us across the finish line. It is not. Is that this is still a rural state. And so you need to be willing to go out there to all 99 counties, to all of these small to medium-sized counties that used to vote Democrat by and large. I mean, remember, this is a state that voted twice for Obama. We have more Obama-Trump counties than any other state in the union. And you've got to get out there and you've got to talk to them and say, this is why I'm different and this is how I'm going to fight for you. Because I'm one of you. I come from a blue-collar community of Council Bluffs. I come from a blue-collar family. I have felt this, and I'm going to go out there to the U.S. Senate, not for the lights, not for the attention, not for the money, but I'm going to go up there because we need more working-class fighters and individuals that have actually experienced it firsthand. And I know that that's resonating with people. So not only the economics too, of going out there and say, we've got to address this corruption that we're seeing in this country, from things like campaign finance reform and Citizens United, but ethics reforms, banning stock trading, term limits. And that is really, really resonating with moderate Republicans.
Yeah, you don't have to. I don't know if you know, but I started actually my first national campaign I ever did was organizing Jones County for $15 a day, running around Monticello, Anamosa, all those small towns up there, and it was a real lesson in how you have to work every single county in the state, and I've learned that lesson over and over again as I came back for other presidential campaigns. But the one thing, I want to give you some time. We have a pretty big subscriber base at Lincoln Square. We really wanted to introduce you to them and make your case for why they should help your campaign. We'll put both your bio ad at the end and a link to your webpage in the show notes. But I wanted to give you the opportunity here in the closing minutes to make a direct contact with our voters, our audience, and give them a pitch for why they should be helping you right now to get there in November.
Yeah, this is. I certainly would appreciate any and all help. I mean, this really is. This is a once in a generation opportunity that we have here in Iowa. As I said, first time since 1968, open governor's race, along with an open Senate race, 2 open congressional races. There is no better place in this country to invest than here in Iowa, where you can see actually not only changing a community or a county or even a state, but here in Iowa, if we're able to duplicate what we did in Trump's first midterm, where we flipped 3 of the 4 congressional seats, we have the ability to change the direction of Congress. And the amazing opportunity that we have here now in Iowa is that we have the opportunity to flip the U.S. Senate. I mean, to flip the Senate, you're going to need to win 4 seats. And we know what those seats are. It's North Carolina, Maine, Ohio, and seat number 4, 51. Really can be Iowa. There is something magical that is taking place in Iowa. I know a lot of people on the coast will say, well, you're a deeply red state. We are not. We're a common sense state that has masqueraded much more red. You look at the special elections that have happened here in the last 12 months. We had a special election, Senator Mike Zimmer. That was a Trump plus 25 rule district that we won. Caitlin Dray, that was a Trump plus 11 district that we won by 10 points. We can win this thing. There is no doubt about it. We just got our first independent poll 2 weeks ago, shows myself and Ashley Hinson tied. We can do it. We know we can. There's a reason why Trump came out to Iowa 3 weeks ago. There's a reason why the independent expenditures are already putting Ashley Hinson up on TV and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. They know that this race is winnable, and I am the candidate that has proven results of being able to win in very, very red conditions. The district that I represent is more red than the state is as a whole. And I know that there is something about, my story, background, resume in politics, focusing on affordability, the kitchen table issues that really, really resonates with folks. And we can win this. I'm not taking any corporate PAC money. I don't view that as morally ambiguous. And so we're relying on individual donors. If you really want to make a meaningful difference in this country this year, invest here in Iowa. It is the only state where you can see flipping 3 of the 4 congressional races, flipping a governor's race, and flipping this U.S. Senate seat and making fundamental change in our country. And I will say this, that this is, Senator Harkin's seat 12 years later. And I am only here because of Senator Harkin. Senator Harkin's work on the American with Disabilities Act. I'm the first permanently disabled member of the Iowa legislature. born with a disability called spina bifida due to my father's exposure to Agent Orange. I had my first surgery at 1 day old, 21 surgeries before I was even 12. I was able to win my election by just dragging my wheelchair upstairs day after day after day to have conversations with independents and Republicans. And I do believe that it is going to be something beautifully poetic, that the man that is coming to get Senator Harkin's seat back 12 years later is only there because of the work that he did on the American with Disabilities Act. And that we can in Iowa, once again, have someone in the U.S. Senate from Iowa that is a champion of the people, that is fighting for Iowa and Iowans, and fighting for social and economic justice, and fighting for these social safety nets like Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security that have allowed myself and so many others to be successful, and not just having representatives from Iowa that are out there just looking out for billionaires and large corporations and special interest groups. That's the amazing once in a generation opportunity that we have here. I have learned from representing a very red district that so much of this is right candidate, right message, and that message is prairie populism and right work ethic. We can win, and with your help, we can flip Iowa and we can change this country.
Well, that's the whole reason I'm out here, because I believe you're right. I believe that it is the Senate seat in Iowa that gets us to 51, gets us to the majority. And so I think this race is very, very important. Probably one of the more important races in the country, deserves more attention. And the one thing I would say, just to bring this out, is, look, I've worked in all 50 states. And if you told me that only one state could pick the next president of the United States, I mean, or a big race, I would tell you go to Iowa. The people, common sense, prairie populism, fair, and and people, oh gosh, they get it wrong. Yeah, well, we all get it wrong sometimes, but they did. When no one thought Barack Obama could win, it was Iowa that sent him on his way. And so, no, I think a lot of this state, I joke about how much time I've spent here as being too much, but I really think it's important. And Josh, thank you so much for taking the time today to help launch On the Ground in Iowa with Joe Trippi.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's honored to kick things off, genuinely. So, and I look forward to seeing you more and more often here in Iowa. I believe it. This is not hyperbole. Iowa is going to be the center of the political universe this year, and we can absolutely win it. And to be able to win it, we need candidates, that resonate with the independents and with the moderate Republicans. And I know that that's what I do. And, please support us. My website is Turek, the number 4. 4 was my basketball number from the Paralympics. And so Turek4Iowa.com. With your help and support, we absolutely can win this race and not only change the state of Iowa, but be able to change this country.
Great. Thanks so much, Josh.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I was born an underdog. 21 surgeries by the age of 12. Spina bifida, caused by my dad's exposure to Agent Orange in Vietnam. A kid wearing Goodwill hand-me-downs with the wrong color lunch ticket. I knew nothing would come easy, but I never doubted my right to the American dream. Sitting in my wheelchair, 9 years old, watching the Olympics, I dreamed of winning gold for my country too. In 2016, I did just that.
Guess who on the left side? Josh Turek.
Council Bluffs, Iowa native.
And then I did it again.
Back-to-back gold medals.
It wouldn't have been possible without the grit that made me shoot 1,000 shots every day. And I wouldn't have gotten that far without VA health coverage from my dad's service, free summer lunch programs when my parents were struggling, and the local AEA that made sure that I had access to a good education. When I was a kid, there was a senator from Iowa that made sure that the doors were open for kids like me. Now the senator from Iowa is just closing doors, taking away health care, making it harder for parents to feed their kids. All just to give tax breaks to billionaires. And her explanation?
Well, we all are going to die.
Well, I'm tired of Iowans being taken for granted. I wasn't supposed to be able to win a state house seat that Trump won twice. But I campaigned just like I played basketball, outworking everyone, pushing the hills, crawling the stairs, all just to have a conversation with everyday Iowans. Did not matter the party. We won that first race by just 6 votes. We won the next one by 5 points in the reddest seat in Iowa held by a Democrat. Iowans deserve a senator who works for them again. So I'm running for U.S. Senate, whole lot of folks are going to look at a guy like me and say, man, that is a real long shot. Well, in Iowa, we love an underdog. So if you are ready to push for change, join me.